Hi guys, what's up? We're here to talk about the movies I watched in February, and I'm gonna be honest, February was a really big month for me. I watched four movies. Four movies. Wow. Let that sink in, okay? So the first film that I watched was One of These Days. One of Them Days. Or One of These Days. I don't know. Let me check. Whoa. Yeah, okay, so it's called One of Them Days. This movie stars SZA and Kiki Palmer's, and I think was produced by Issa Rae or directed by her. I'm not sure. Anyways, that's the film. I'm gonna give you a little bit of something because I think it connects to something I'm gonna say later on, or what I think I'm gonna say. I don't know, I might change my mind. I have been a TikTok user for a long time, pre-pandemic. In the last, I want to say year, maybe two, I have noticed one, an gentrification of TikTok that has been going on for more than 2 years, but two, increase of actresses, Hollywood content. And I'm using that dreaded C word. I get all these TikToks, interview clips, Vanity Fair, whatever, chatting with so and so, and I don't care. And the interviews on the red carpet, I have no interest. I don't care what these clowns have to say. I have no interest in this shit. And also, even after any like Grammys, Oscars, whatever awards show is happening, I'm seeing this show from like every third angle, like as if I was there in person. And I've gotten to a point in the last like 2 months where I just keep on hitting not interested, yet this stuff still persists and it makes me so mad. However, not really however. One of those things, those like I was seeing lots of interview clips with Kiki Palmer's, Issa Rae, and SZA, and I have to say, all three women are really charming and very funny, but I still don't want to see that stuff. Anyways, this movie is telling the story of two besties who are living in LA, and the SZA character is an artist. She doesn't really seem to have a job, but like manages to get by, but she's a painter and she's always painting, and she has this low life boyfriend. And then the Kiki Palmer character is a waitress at a diner, and she's trying to become corporate and move on up within this company. Now, it just so happens to be that it is the first of the month, and you know what happens in some places of the world on the first of the month? Rent is due. And they had the rent money, and SZA's character gave it to low-life boyfriend to pay to the landlord, and what did the low-life do? He invested that money into a t-shirt company, and so now these two girls are facing eviction. If they do not get the money by 12 that night, they will be evicted. And so this sets them off on this sort of odyssey, if you would, to get the money. And they do a few different things. One of those things is that they go to donate blood. They try to get a loan, and it sets them off on all these escapades. And at the same time, on this very big day where rent is due, the Kiki Palmer character also has to interview for her job. So the stakes are quite high. That's like an overview of the film. I would have to say that it is fun. My sister described this as a family, fun, clean movie, and that we have very few of those. I moderately agree with her. I would say that this is a PG-13 family sort of fun, not a like, don't bring your toddlers to watch this film. But at the same time, while I say that, yes, like the movie is fun, but I thought it was gonna be funnier. Like, yeah, there are like, I think that they could have pushed the humor a few more times. And I think that one scene that occurs in the blood bank takes far too long, and it just seems like very, I don't know, low-hanging fruit comedy. And I say that because I expected that I would go into this film and I would be kicking, screaming, giggling, throwing my feet in the air, laughing, but that wasn't really the case. There were just moments where I was like, huh, like, yeah, that's funny or whatever, but yeah, those were my thoughts. But at the same time, I do have to say, it's really nice to see like female-centered narratives that are also comedies, because I don't really feel as if we get a lot of those. But those were my thoughts on One of Them Days. The next film that I watched was The Collection by Harold Pinter. Now, technically, this is a play that was turned into, I want to say BBC drama, and it was only 1 hour long. And also, this is wonderful for all of us, it's on YouTube, so I was able to watch it on YouTube for free. So if this is something that interests you, you should definitely check it out. It is only 1 hour, and it goes by quite fast. And so this is the story of two couples. We have, I don't know their names, but we have a man and a woman, and then we have two men. And it's not explicitly said that these men are in a gay relationship, but it's kind of like, you know, all the clues are there. We know that. And in this film, play, drama, whatever, we discover that in the very, very beginning, the female character has told her husband that she had an affair on a business trip. And he is raging, absolutely raging. So he then goes to meet the other couple and has a conversation with them. And that's kind of like the tension that is happening. We are seeing the ways in which these two couples are contemplating trust and wondering how their relationship will weather these storms, and if they will be able to get past this breach that has occurred, and what really is truth. Those are the questions that we were asking ourselves. Now, this is a film, book, dialogue, whatever it may be, that is driven by dialogue. And so much so that I then read a review on some like blog that I found on the internet that said that Harold Pinter's plays are the kind that if you were to read them, you would not like pick up on this like the ways in which they are very threatening. Like when you watch this film play, when you see it acted out, you see the ways in which there are these like, there's a lot of tension and threats and drama, and you just like, the lines are said with such just like tension, and you wouldn't get that if you were reading it. I think if you were to just read it, you would just think it was all comedy, but there's meant to be this sort of undercurrent of threat running throughout it. And I also point out that this is something that is entirely driven through dialogue. There's ways in which towards the end, at one point, the older man in the gay relationship says to the husband of the woman, like, they're kind of discussing this what's happened to them. They're gearing up towards the end, and he's like, oh, but you know how women are, like, you know them better than us. Something like, he says something along those lines, and then there's this beat, and then the beat is, because you're married to her, that's why you would know her better than we would. Like, it's just, I don't know if I did it justice, but there's this moment of like, such brilliant dialogue. That's really what I have to say. And I'm also pointing this out is because when I was on TikTok and forced to suffer through one of these clips about film or actors, whatever it was, someone, maybe it was a director, said something along the lines of they don't like dialogue, that they don't think films are about dialogue. And I have realized I primarily like am really strongly driven by dialogue, because really great dialogue is incredibly, I think, or the dialogue that I prefer is incredibly witty and clever, and you see like the connections that are being made and these just wonderful allusions to things. And I think that's so fascinating. I love good conversation, and it is something that if you really think about it in your day-to-day life, like how many times are you actually experiencing someone being truly witty and like seeing these just moments? And that's what film allows you to do, ideally, for me at least, to see these brilliant conversations and to see the ways in which someone is making a joke that won't hit for some people but will hit for others, or if you know that reference, you're able to like find the humor. I like that a lot, and I do think that this film delivers that. It is showing that like these different layers to what is being said and what they really mean. It's also like super British naturally, and also there's a way in which all four of these characters are all or not all four of them, but the young man and also the woman and the husband, they all are involved within the fashion business. Now that is really interesting for two reasons. One, because for a very long time, I don't know how true that is now, but the UK's fashion industry is like one of their biggest industries, which is really fascinating. And I think it's probably now, it's maybe like the third or fourth largest, but it employs a lot of people. And so I think it's interesting that there's a ways in which these two couples are involved within the fashion industry, but also maybe there's a conversation to be said about how, I think this is the second point that I was alluding to, that maybe there's a way in which, because they are in this space, that they're having this like transgressive sort of shit happening in their marriage, in relationships. So that's that. I think that was really interesting. There's also a class stuff that is happening, because towards the end, when the older man, he has this monologue rather, where he refers to his partner as being like a sort of slug, and how can you teach these like slum boys, and what do they really know, and they just fuck everything up. And like there's wonderful dialogue. It was so wonderful. It was a wonderful monologue, that's what I mean to say. It was so good, and so much like energy and passion, and also just this cruelty, but also like, I don't know, it was wonderful, brilliant. Definitely check it out. And the character that we learned the least about is the woman. And I think that's like understandable in the sense that she is acting as a sort of archetype. She is this, like, she's always just in these like poses of repose, and just like, and she's just basking in her like Venusian beauty and just being very feminine and beautiful, and yet like has caused all of these men to freak out and have them really question their masculinity and their relationships and their trust. And there's something like really powerful in the ways in which we actually don't know very much about her inner life, what she really wants, but everything is sort of hinging on her. That's what I have to say about that one. Next, I watched something very different. I watched Paddington in Peru. Now, this is the third film within the Paddington franchise, and I think I've watched either Paddington 1 or Paddington 2. I've watched one of them. I don't really remember which one. I have very little memory of it. Paddington 3, as the title says, we're going to Peru. And so our charming, cute little bear has made it to Peru, and he is hoping to be reunited with his Aunt Lucy, but Aunt Lucy's gone missing into the forest, or has she? And he needs to set off on a quest to find her. Now, when I'm like, the plot of this is quite obvious. It's becomes like a treasure hunt for this secret treasure, and there is a Peruvian family who's, since the days of the conquistadors, have been hunting for this treasure, and the Brown family is getting embroiled in their little family stuff, and it kind of just felt super obvious. It was just like, of course this is gonna be the plot. That's what I kind of thought. It's cute, but I don't think it's the strongest, I'm assuming, within the Paddington franchise. It does obviously towards the end tug on your heartstrings just a little bit, and the very, very end, there's this moment where you're wondering, like, is Paddington going to stay in Peru, or is he going to go back to London? Like, what's he going to do? And yeah, there was something else I wanted to say. What was it? Oh yeah, we were sitting next to this family of and they had a young girl, and halfway through the film she was like, I want to leave, this is scary. And she was like, what's happening here? I really want to leave. Her parents wouldn't let her leave, but honestly I also wanted to leave. It just was kind of, I don't know, it just wasn't, whatever. Okay, after that I watched The Great Buddha Plus. Now this is a film that I got introduced to because I was gonna watch a film at the Metrograph, and I saw it listed there, but the timing didn't work for me. And then obviously many months later, I finally got around to watching the film. This film was not what I expected. I expected it to be a sort of a caper, that we have these two characters who are from a lower socioeconomic class, and they have discovered a woman was murdered, and they're gonna solve everything. That is not what happens. This is actually a really bleak film, but there is a lot of humor in it. It is primarily shown in this like black and white, very moody color scheme. We have the two main characters. We have the security guard who works at a factory that makes Buddhas, and then you have his bestie who is like has no family, has very few friends, and his occupation is he collects trash, and like he'll make money through odds and ends, and that's like him. They are friends, and they will they have like funny names. Like one is called Belly Button and the other one is called Pickle. So Belly Button is the one who collects trash, and Pickle is a security guard. And so when we're introduced to them, we see how every single night they meet up, and they'll like share food, and they'll shoot the shit and whatever, because this Pickle is a security guard in the nighttime. Now, naturally, this is their sort of routine, and Belly Button wants some novelty, so he suggests that they will pull the CCTV footage or whatever that is on Pickle's boss's Mercedes, and they will watch that, and they will maybe like something interesting will happen. And the reason that they're doing this is because the television isn't working. So they're pulling these videos and they're watching them. And when we're watching these videos, that is when we see color. And Pickle then says to Belly Button, like, see, like, even the lives of the rich, even their lives are so much more colorful than ours. And that's why we have the black and white and then the color films or whatever. And you're seeing just, there's this interesting way in which I kind of am surprised that I was able to watch all of this film, because it is a film about two voyeurs. And then we, the viewer, also become a voyeur because we are watching these two guys watch their boss drive around the city. And you're kind of just like, why are we watching this? Like, what is this happening? Like, what is this voyeurism? It's just so much. And you're seeing the ways in which the boss man he's a ladies' man. He's a player, but also he is someone who is super wealthy. But even within this wealthy ecosystem of Taiwan, he's still not the biggest fish up there. Like, he is still beholden to government officials who will call him, and he has to acquiesce to their demands. And the two, Pickle and Belly Button, they're watching this, and they're kind of seeing the ways in which, like, they're almost similar to the boss guy, and that they're all sort of just like bowing down to someone else and having to be so subservient, and it's all just like there's a pecking order. And they're also experiencing these feelings of like desire, because they're like, his life is so much better than ours, like our life is trash. But also, yeah, there's like layers happening, and we're like, there's this class study that's sort of happening. And then there's this murder that occurs, and you are kind of then faced to like you're watching the two characters, and you're like, okay, what are they going to do? Like, you think that maybe they're going to say something, but are they really going to? Or how are they going to do it? What's going to happen? How is this going to play out? And yeah, like, things just don't happen the way you expect them to. And I think that's it's described as like a dark comedy, and you're like, yeah, this is dark, this is bleak, it is not very hopeful. And then when you get towards the end, oh, it's super sad. Not like it is sad. And you see how Pickle, because the film starts with a funeral procession and it ends with a funeral procession. And you see Pickle contemplating like how this film is asking you, how well can you really know someone? What does it mean to know someone? Because as we discover that no one here really knows each other very well. And there's also a way in which I think we're seeing how Belly Button comes across as one way, but is also like another way when he's hanging out with Pickle. Like, I don't think you can say like, yeah, these two are besties, but at the same time, you can also say that this isn't the healthiest of relationships. Like, Belly Button is mean to Pickle. He is kind of a bully, and he uses Pickle as like a punching bag, and he's able to do so because Pickle is just like such a nice, like, chill guy who unfortunately, like, life is just stacked against him. And even when Pickle goes to speak to his uncle, like, his uncle is scheming and like being a dick to him. Like, there's just, this world sucks. Hold on. Yeah, sorry, I got a phone call. So as I was saying, this is a film, I was about to say this is a book. This is a film that is asking us, like, how well do you really know someone? It is looking at capitalism, but also, like, class and corruption. And there's these interesting conversations, like, not very many, but there's something about God, actually, yeah, this happens quite a bit. Conversations about religion and the ways in which religion is used to manipulate people, because at one point our two little naive, young-ish guys, they go to a temple to receive wisdom and help and guidance, and the advice they are given is so whack and so not helpful. They are so confused that they then end up going to another temple that is a little further out, and it is the temple of some former government official, like an army guy, and they're like trying to get advice from him, and that's like happening. And then at the same time, because we happen to be within the space of a factory that creates Buddha statues, at one point the evil boss guy is with his ministry pals, and they are talking to these Buddhist monks who have come, and they're having this dialogue. And it's like, there definitely were like a few moments that I didn't really understand, but they're like bantering and being mean to each other, but like doing it with this politeness, and that was fun. And then at the very end, there's the Buddha statue is like, it has a moment. Yeah, I thought it was a really an interesting film. I'm glad I watched it. Gave me a lot to ponder, to mull over. But yeah, those are the films that I watched, and Let me know if you watched any good ones. What have you been watching? What's happening? And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.